Welcome to episode 5 of season 1 of the Neutral Zone with Stomps and Nav. Today we got a very, very power plugged episode. For those of you who've been watching the series religiously, we took a week off last week, so there's a lot to cover this week. Stomps, as usual, is our fact checker, our encyclopedia, and he will be able to provide some really good details of what's transpired over the past 2 weeks. Today, pretty excited to say we got some big things to discuss. Like I mentioned, we're going to go over some important things. First of all, I think we should congratulate the Tampa Bay Lightning for a much-deserved Stanley Cup victory in the bubble. I don't think we were able to talk about that last week because we weren't on. Stomps, were you able to catch a few of those games?
Only a little. Yeah, they had the best team for sure. So, yeah, like you said, it was well-deserved. You know, Dallas had unbelievable goaltending that got them that far. But
I mean, I was shocked that they got through the Colorado Avalanche. I thought the Avalanche seemed to be my pick. I thought they were really the favorites for me.
Yeah, myself as well. We'll see what they do next year. They'll have Brandon Saad.
Yeah, I think that's huge. That gives them a real good option up front as well. So we'll cover some of that. Like the Stanley Cup was awarded, I think, 10, 11 days ago. And then we will talk about something special that happened this year with the first ever draft that happened during the COVID-19. So it was like kind of like a special draft. So I think we'll talk about some key firsts that happened in that draft. And then obviously everyone knows about the breaking news with the Corey Crawford departure. Then we're going to have some special guests today. Oh yeah, sorry. I'm sorry, I missed that. We are also going to talk about the upcoming tournament in Woodridge. Both Frank and Eric have been working really hard on putting that together. Unfortunately, neither of them could join us today, but Stomps has a lot of information on that, so he'll cover that. And if you have any questions, we're trying something new this week. We're going to actually upload this video to YouTube versus going live on Facebook, and then go to Stomps, Christopher Stompanato, for the actual link. So if you're watching this on YouTube and you want to catch the Facebook video that he posts later today, we should probably get that up and running in an hour or so, an hour after the show. So we'll talk about the tournament and kind of how that's being set up. Eric's provided some updates recently. Then one of the biggest topics here is a much anticipated Between the Pipes episode. We got some real savvy veterans that will be on here, pioneers in Between the Pipes, pioneers in the Chicago ball hockey scene. We have a couple people that might not make it, but we're definitely going to identify who they are and give a special shout out. Stomps is going to be running that interview. And then what we want to do is talk about Wednesday night in Palatine. It was a big game on Wednesday, followed by today, which has some really notable things that happened today in Woodridge. And then we're going back to our player spotlights. I think we took a week off of that 2 weeks ago, so we'll go back to our player spotlights. We got a treat for you for that. I hope everybody's tuned in to see how they get spotlighted. And then finally, I do want to share with everybody the logistics and production schedule from now until the end of the year, so you can get pumped and you can put it on your calendar to see all your favorite Chicago ball hockey players on YouTube. So with that said, Stomps, how do you feel? This is your team, you know. Corey Crawford's moving on, signed a big deal with the New Jersey Devils.
Well, nothing surprises me anymore. What's interesting is if you look at the first half of this season that just ended, which was obviously pre-COVID, a lot of people would say the Blackhawks had the best goaltending. They had Crawford and Robin Lehner. And now look where they are. They're both gone and they've moved on. So I know Dante has some strong feeling. Dante hates the Blackhawks organization. He's got a deep-seated hatred that goes back many years, and he would he thinks it's really a dumb move by the Blackhawks, but it's follow the money, right? That's what it is. So
I mean, I don't know if the Hawks would have paid him that kind of money. I don't think they would have, right?
probably, well, no, they got cap issues, and that's it. And I was just surprised at how many goalies moved on to other teams in the last couple of days. That was pretty unbelievable.
Yeah, I find that I have noticed that too. Goalies and players, I found there's been a lot of movement lately, and I'm wondering if some of the stuff going on with the pandemic has kind of encouraged some of that movement. I mean, is there too much uncertainty? It sounds like some of the teams are just kind of going on business as usual, because you wouldn't sign players for long-term big contracts unless you felt pretty comfortable with the future, right?
Exactly. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
But be that as it may, it's we'll see what happens next season, right?
Yeah. Well, I gotta say, I wish him the best. I mean, I think
Yeah, I mean,
goaltender. He's done a lot for the city of Chicago. He's got 2 cups right here.
correct.
2 cups.
Not too many guys can say that, but
Yeah, I think
that's that.
tremendous. That's tremendous, as Thomas would say. So
Right.
a big year for us with the NHL 2020 draft during the pandemic. I don't know about you, Stomps. Did you catch the draft at all, or did you just kind of read the news afterwards?
I honestly didn't follow it, didn't see it, so this is all you.
Well, I am no, actually I am quite pleased with how this turned out this year. I think they made the draft really special this year. Obviously, like I mentioned to you earlier, it's the first year ever where it was held virtually. So the draft's been going on for 58 years. And if you think about it, not only is it memorable that it was virtually done, but we start off with a couple facts. First of all, the Rangers ended up selecting, no surprise there, left winger Alexis Lafreniere with the number 1 pick. We knew the Rangers were going to go with that pick. There was no debate on that. Tampa Bay Lightning took the last pick with Declan McDonald. That's 217th in the 7th round. What I liked, a real nice touch, the Deputy Commissioner Bill Daly started day 2 with a moving tribute to Hockey Hall of Famer Jim Gregory. And if for those of you who don't know, he's a former Toronto Maple Leafs general manager, and he's been an NHL executive for the past 4 decades, with duties including the roll call and announcing of picks actually at the draft. The reason they did that on day 2 was because he announced the day 2 draft. So he's kind of been known for that. I mean, it seems like so far away that he died in October, which is a year ago, but this was the time to sort of recognize him. Died at the age of 83. What I thought was interesting with all of the stuff going on right now in the NHL and some of the different movements that are happening, another interesting thing, Quinton Byfield of Sudbury from the OHL was the highest selected black player in NHL history. The Los Angeles Kings picked him number 2. Evander Kane was previously him and Seth Jones were previously the highest picked black players in NHL history, with Evander Kane going in 2009 with the Atlanta Thrashers, number 4, and then Seth Jones 2013 with the number 4 pick. And I got to tell you, that Seth Jones is I think his best years are still to come. The Toronto Maple Leafs played them in that seeding round, or in that qualifying playoff round. And I tell you, the amount of ice time he logged, the way he shut down some exceptional forwards in Toronto, that he's got a great future ahead of him. So that was another first. The Senators, I thought this was kind of cool. For those of you who watch Jeopardy, Alex Trebek announced a number 3 pick in the first round for the Ottawa Senators, in which they picked left winger Tim Stützle of Adler Mannheim in the Deutsche Eishockey Liga. So that was pretty neat. Yaroslav Askarov became the highest drafted Russian-born goalie in NHL history when the Nashville Predators selected him number 11. Very cool. This is one that I thought was pretty touching. Director of Scouting for the San Jose Sharks. Many of you know Doug Wilson Jr. He conducted his number 31 pick in sign language. And I thought that was a pretty remarkable thing. They picked the number 1 pick, Prince Albert Ford Ozzie Weisblatt, whose mother, Kim, is deaf and is a single mom with 5 children. Well, that was quite nice. One plug here for Canadian hockey players in the first round. 19 of them were Canadian in the first round. That's the most since the last 17 years. In 2003, we had 19 as well. And then 71 Canada-born players were chosen over a complete of the 7 rounds. So good stuff. I think the league did a nice job here with making it a memorable one, despite the challenges that we're living in these days. Any comments, Stubbs?
I was just curious how they handled if somebody was picked, how did they handle usually you put on the jersey of the team that you were chosen by. Did they do that?
Yeah, they did. So, like, if you see, they all did that. So what was happening in the draft, and that's, if you look up here, they were actually live feeding the players. So they would end up wherever they were. I think the LA pick here was in his study or something. He put the jersey on. So they did that. But obviously not the same kind of way that you do it with general managers and all that. So, it's definitely not the same. Hey, before we get started into the Between the Pipes, so we got our 2 esteemed special guests already here waiting patiently. Billy Jacques and Mark Dante will be with you guys shortly. Thanks for joining this afternoon. Looking forward to hearing from 2 spectacular people. But before we get to that, we did promise both Eric and Frank that Stomps would just give everybody a quick update on what's happening with the Hockey Monsters' first ever tournament in Woodridge, Illinois.
Well, I know they're working on it. As of a few minutes ago, I think 63 individuals had signed up. I'm hearing that they may close the sign up. They're going to have to early this week, so teams could be. I don't know what they're doing about teams. I think last I saw there was 7 captains, so there's 1 slot still open there. All the goalie spots are filled in. I don't know. It's about all I know. I think some people are concerned that there's going to be some stacked teams, but they're going to try to level the playing field somewhat. So I think you can have a goalie and 3 people, total of 4, and they'll fill out the rest through just slotting people.
So the first weekend is over a course of 3 weekends, right? The first weekend's next Sunday?
Yeah.
October 18th, weather permitting.
Yeah, I looked at the forecast for the next 2 Sundays, now looking 2 weeks out, but both days look pretty decent, so we'll see what happens.
So to Stomps' point, I think I think one of the requirements is to make sure you have the Hockey Monsters app. I think they really want to make sure that people register through there, and I think the deadline is today, so please get on the Hockey Monsters app and register for the tournament. Click on yes. A notable maybe on there, I don't know if you know, I saw that, but Timmy Stalin is a maybe.
Well, I was going to talk about Timmy today.
You want to save it?
Our good friend Timmy. Well, no, we can talk. I mean, since you brought him up, so Timmy's playing injured a little bit. He's got an issue with one of his. Let's put it this way: it's in his groin area.
Okay. Yes.
But he's functioning well since he's going to have a kid any day now within the next couple of weeks. So let's not worry about it. But I don't know if you knew this, Nav, since you've played at Woodridge longer than I have. But Timmy told me today that they gave him a ceremonial ball when he scored his 1200th Woodridge goal.
Wow. I mean, I didn't see the ceremonial ball, but I wouldn't be surprised that he scored 1,200 goals.
I mean, because, Eric keeps the stats, so I was like, what? So he's a first ballot Hall of Famer. And plus, you told me today he's half Italian, which I didn't know. Yeah. So his stock has gone way up in my mind.
Yeah,
basically.
I'm sure you and Dante are pleased with that one. Um, you know what we're gonna do? We're gonna talk a little bit about Timmy when we get to Woodridge. I'm glad you brought up the injury, and we certainly it's an injury that it's a little bit of a nagging injury. I don't know if that's affected his game. He's still scoring like a machine. But for those of you who are interested in learning more about the tournament, please get on to Hockey Monsters. Sign up for the tournament. Listen, we got two guys who know what they're doing with Frank and Eric setting that up. I think it would be great. I think one of the things I like what they did is, they're charging people, I think between $10 to $20. I think they're going to have to come with a precise number on that. Nobody can pay $9.99. So we're going to have to pay between, going to have a specific number. But I think that's cool because they're going to try to film games and they're going to try to give out awards. So just think about all the years you've been playing in Woodridge for practically free. Eric's done a nice job. It's not completely free for him because I know that he make sure that we have like orange balls and all that stuff. But like Stomp said, the weather looks pretty good over the course of the next 2 Sundays.
We'll see.
Hopefully we can get the tournament over with before the weather gets really bad. And for another veteran out there who's played in Woodridge, Billy Jacques knows that, we can sometimes get up to Thanksgiving if the weather allows. So I'm looking forward to that. Okay, so listen, please do so. Get on the app. And we'll probably have another series on this in the coming weeks. You'll see in the production schedule, we'll be talking about the tournament and we'll have some recap about how the tournament's going. But listen, real quick, Stomps, you want to tell everybody about these injuries that are kind of breaking news?
Well, Alex has a knee. He's got a knee. He played Wednesday at Palatine, and I noticed that he had I don't know if it was a brace or he had something on one of his knees. He seemed to be moving fine. I don't know. And, then he had to back out of today at Woodridge because of that. And, kind of the same with Joey. He's tweaked the calf, I believe. He played Wednesday, but he was having a little trouble. So he
if it's
also,
the left calf or the right calf?
I don't know.
Okay.
But yeah, I'm sure there's a few other people banged up. There always are. But if they want to text me with their injury information, we'll get it out.
The knee injury 2 weeks ago. Billy, I got to say, man, you recovered quicker than Trump with Corona. That was
wow.
phenomenal.
It's still sore, still a bit sore.
Hey, listen, I'm going to pass this on to Stomps in a second here. Stomps is going to take this one because he just knows these guys really well, known them for a long time. But guys, listen, before I pass it on to Stomps, I just want to say we're really excited, like I said in the opening, to have 2 special guests here with us today on the Neutral Zone. Over the first 4 or 5 episodes, we've been kind of talking about updates and breaking news and like all that player spotlights. But this is a real special segment because we talk about a position that is often misunderstood and underestimated in terms of what it means in terms of mental toughness and preparation. So that's why when I talk about this session or this segment here, Between the Pipes, we couldn't be more fortunate than having 2 guys who understand the position really well with William Jacques and Mark Dante. And Mark Dante's started a lot of generational goaltending here with his son, and he's got a lot of experience as well. And Billy obviously has a ton of championships. His resume speaks volumes. David Schmiel was a game time decision. It looks like he's had a pumpkin patch commitment with his family, so we'll have to catch up with him in the future. And then obviously Bobby D, we wouldn't have a show or without mentioning his notable absence. So with that said, I'm going to pass it on to Stomps. Welcome, Billy Jacques and Mark Dante.
Thanks for having us, guys.
Yeah, appreciate it, guys. Thank you.
First of all, look at these photos that you see there. You look at them and they look like very normal businessmen. But we know quite the opposite. But I do want, so Dave, I wish Dave and Bobby D were on. They had family commitments, which I guess we'd play second fiddle to family. But I want to, if you don't mind, I want to start with Billy. William, you now, so how, I was trying to think about how long we've played with and against each other through the years. I just remember, obviously, the Raider years are near and dear, and of course, you were a tremendous netminder for Death, the great Death squad over there at Hoffman. Can you tell us how, I mean, when did you start playing goaltender? I mean, how far back does this go? Were you playing when you were very, very young, or was it just
So I started playing when I was 18 with a team with a gentleman named Jack Wolin, named the White Owls. They were a Sunday outfit who I met through neighborhood stuff. Guys would just get together, play on tennis courts, and sort of went out there and introduced myself, and they were talking about this league in Hoffman Estates, and I was like, wow, this would be cool. Let's do it. Let's try it. Well, this White Owl team was pretty bad. I mean, they were pretty bad. We went out there, and I'll never forget it. We first game I played, we played I think they were called Mutiny or the Fatas, or they were all the Hispanic guys that played by not too far from the area. Just 13-0. We lost 13-0, and that was awakening. So you go back to the drawing board, and as the years gone on, they got guys like Chelly, guys like Chris Wacko. I think you've heard of him. Guys like Kevin Graham, the trivia guy. Kevin, great guy. And we continued to get better and better. And it took us like 4 or 5 sessions to be a 500 team. And at that time, Mitch and Kish, and this was before.
We're losing you there. We're losing you, Billy. Stomps, can you hear him?
No,
Billy, hang on one sec, Billy.
Billy, we can't hear you.
So
there you go. Now we can hear you.
Oh, you can hear me?
Rewind the
Yeah,
last 20 seconds.
Your audio cut out for about 20 seconds there.
Okay. So, we would play teams like Mitchie and Kishy's team, and they were pretty good. And this was before Bobby D. And they had a really, really good team, but they didn't finish half their games because of fights. And they would go across the street and drink the rest of the day away. But it was great stuff. It was a lot of fun times. But we didn't get good until we were 4 or 5 sessions into it. I've been blessed to play on great teams for a long, long time. So for me, I've been pretty lucky to have really, really good teammates in front of me, because we all know that hockey is a team sport, and just like a pitcher in baseball, you're out there all the time, and if you're not good, you're going to get exposed. So it is what it is.
What would you say? Give us like a couple of like your favorite moments ever in ball hockey history for yourself.
Well, my favorite moment was 2016, representing Team USA in Banff, and playing and being chosen as the starter for the first game against Canada. There was a lot of people.
Now we've really lost him. He may not have paid his internet bill.
Well, he said 2016 playing against Team Canada and Banff. He's on mute now. I think we're losing the audio there, Billy. We're losing the audio. Hang on a second.
Stood out to me as
Back.
it was fun, really fun, and an honor to represent, to have Team USA on your on the front of your jersey. And then my last being French, one of the Canadian guys said, "You should be playing for the other team." I said, "I wish." But it was fun. It was a good time.
Cool.
Who's your favorite defenseman?
Chris Landowski. I played with Chris for years. Chris was 16 when he started playing, and back then, the guys who've been playing for years know what a player Chris was, and still is. I mean, Chelly's still a good player, but he sticks out as my favorite because of the longevity. There's been great guys. I mean, you, Nav, are one of my favorites. We talk all the time on the floor. We have a good relationship with communication, and I've had a lot of good guys. I played on the Lightning with Joey Gleason back in the day too, who was fun. Joe was a good player, still is a good player. Now his kids are playing. It makes us feel a little old, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Well, Nav can relate.
Yeah.
So could Dante.
Yeah.
Dante.
Don's some good genes there. Good players in Fuzzy and the goalie, man. Those are good players. Good players.
All right, Dance, here's your chance. So now we go back even further, playing at the church, playing at Penoyer before there were organized ball hockey leagues. And of course, you've played a lot of goal. I remember, I want to say it was at Niles Ballard when you were playing with the Sabres. And you had this consecutive shutout streak going that we were following from the stands. But because I know you've played high school, you've played juniors, so I know the story about your cup being shattered, which is amazing. Give us when did you start in goal? I mean, I'm sure it's when you were very young.
Yeah, it was back in ice hockey days, of course. Back when we didn't even know there were any floor hockey or what ball hockey was. When I was a youngster, I started skating about 8 or 9 years old. And right across the street from where I lived on Foster, you know it well, Stomps, Penoyer. A few guys, what they would do is we would get their parents and they would create some ice. So they'd let the hoses run overnight. We had ourselves a rink, and it was great. And my parents bought me skates, and I went out and played, and it was awesome just to get out there with ankle bending, just to get out there to try it. And then I joined a league the next year. And after that, I kind of said, I want to play goalie. And I know my parents weren't happy about that. I don't know if it was because I would get hurt or because of the cost of the equipment. That still has not been verified, but they're playing goal. Who's got that cockroach?
I muted him. Don't worry.
So I started, I don't know, I was 11, 12 years old maybe, playing ice hockey goal, of course. And we started playing on a team in Norwich. So there was actually a Norwich team back in the day. It was 3 or 4 teams, if I recall. And we played at a rink somewhere like in Oak Brook Terrace or something. It was crazy back then. Only 4 teams, and we played with it was a house league, of course. And so that was fun, just getting started there in those leagues. So it was kind of, there wasn't much hockey school or anything like that for us. It was just all the kids from the neighborhood just got on teams from the local area where we're at there. And so that's kind of how it went. So it was nothing, let's say, that was out of the ordinary with a lot of kids that just wanted to get out and play hockey after watching the Blackhawks. Some of those great squads back in the late 60s, early 70s, right? So I think that's what fueled a lot of it, to go out and try some ice hockey. Right? So a lot of good memories back then. I remember my first year Stomps before we played in Norwich. If you remember, there was a place called Flying Carpets. It was in Rosemont. It's on Mannheim and Higgins, kind of where that I don't know if it's the Sheridan these days or what hotel it is. And I think there's a Harry Carey's restaurant in there. There was the Flying Carpet. It was an outdoor rink, and we used to play there. Man, it was cold out there in the winter. playing those games out there. That was crazy. We had more equipment, less equipment, and more jackets that keep you warm. So, but that was fun, and I know that takes place in a lot of parts of North America on a normal basis. And Canada and Minnesota's got mostly outdoor rinks. You know, people don't even know that, but a lot of ice hockey gets played on outdoor rinks. So it goes back to simple starts, nothing dramatic by any means.
Well, what about ball hockey, though? What are some of your favorite memories as a goaltender?
Yeah, gosh, it's been so long now. I can't even remember since I played. You brought back that funny thing I know back
What are you doing?
at Niles, right? That you know, it was one of our first years in the league, right? And boy, there were some good teams there. And I know I had a run going about 3 or 4 games in a row with getting shutouts, and then I decided, and I think that was pretty much after I was done playing juniors. So after that, I was like, yeah, I'm done. I don't want to play goalie anymore. And then Bart's took over.
Oh, man.
For that. So he had a string going too. We had a pretty solid club back then. But gosh, playing goal, I can remember probably the most fun games were at Oriole, most competitive. You know, I don't know if I can pick up an exact game that was my favorite back there, but you know, at least playing in goal. I didn't play too long in the nets there. So, you know, we had a lot of friends that were goalies too, and I played a lot of goalie in you know, back in the day, and said, you know, I'll just go out and play out, you know, play wing, play defense, whatever. So other guys get a chance to play in the nets for the most part. So didn't spend a lot of time in the ball hockey world playing goalie, but it was fun. You know, some Niles and then Oriole, I think, were, you know, the 2 places. I don't think I even ever played at Schiller or at Franklin, if I remember back in the day. So,
Hey, Dante, did the playing all the experience in goal help you as a defenseman in ball hockey?
well, I think when you play goalie, and Billy can tell you this, is you get to see the whole game. You get to see what happens out there, how the plays develop, what players are doing what. So it's very clear. I think I would say it's probably similar to being a catcher in baseball, where it seems like there's a lot of catchers that are managers. And I think because they're really in charge of the game, right? For the most part. So they're calling a lot of the plays. You know, today I know a lot of the pitchers, the pitches come in from the dugout and stuff, but they're in charge out there. So as a goalie, you kind of see where everyone's going and where the other team, what they're doing, and you know what their weaknesses are, what their strengths are, and how to play against it. So you definitely learn a lot back there watching what's happening. So I think it definitely helps from my perspective, because you got to see a whole bunch of different things happening that you normally don't get into and play in these circumstances. You see it happen, and then you can anticipate as much more too. Certain players, what they're going to do after you watch them out there, those types of things. And your players and your teams, they have certain things that they have strengths and weaknesses too. So you understand, when they're out there, what might change during the game, and be ready for it. So I absolutely think so, because I think a lot of times in the as you're playing forward and defense, you don't have a lot of time to observe some of those things happening, right? Because you've got a job to do. As a goalie, you get a little bit of time off sometimes, right? And on the other side, especially with the big rinks, maybe not at Woodridge and such, because a shot could come from anywhere at any time. But on the rinks, you can definitely get a good idea of what's happening out there.
All right, I got a question for both of you. I'll start with Bill. And this is ball hockey related. Give me the name of one player who you would absolutely dread facing in a breakaway situation.
I just can name one. There's
One
been a lot.
guy. Or gal.
Our gal. Beautiful.
Timmy out in Woodridge for years has been a disaster to face on a breakaway situation. Just a disaster. But at the rinks, I will tell you this for years. It's Red. I cannot stop Red shot on a breakaway. Keith would kill me all the time. Keith. I don't
Well,
know what it is. He just killed me.
It's
That's an
interesting you say that because,
unlikely. That's an unlikely answer, but it's very interesting.
well,
I just can't stop a shot.
even my observations, I would say you do well against Timmy, because you don't go for a lot of the back and forth, forehand, backhand, stick handling. You kind of hold your ground a lot, and I think that's why you've had some success against Tim. But that's so funny. So Red, because Red doesn't do a lot of maneuvers. Is it just shoot? He beats you on the shot?
Yep, just beats me on the shot. There's no movement. There's no deception. You know, you're looking for deception on a breakaway, right? You're looking for someone to pick their spot and shoot and score. For some reason, for years, he's the guy that stuck in my mind that just he kills me every single time. And bring it back to current day, Mr. Kelly, who is a phenomenal hockey player. That guy has my number. He scores 5 goals a game against me. I mean, he owns me. And what his situation is, and it's great, is he doesn't wait. He gets it off. He doesn't allow a goalie to set. Because when I feel like I'm set and I'm in the right position, I feel like I can stop it. Now I'm not as quick as I used to be, obviously, post to post or side to side, and even seeing the shot. He just doesn't allow you to set. And when that happens, you're in trouble. You're in real trouble. But, yeah, Red from back in the day, he scored many goals. And I just can't explain it. He just does.
Well, 2 comments on that, Billy. First of all, that was a real surprising answer to the question. And I got to tell you that I think that was probably one of the major motivators of the Toros for them to continue to sign him, because they had to figure out a way to beat you.
Us and the Toros have had many crazy games. It's been fun. A lot of fun.
I'll just say one thing, and then we'll get Dante to answer that. Billy, you're a humble guy, and I've played with you and I've played against you. And I probably should have said this during the introductions. You know, there's a lot of goalies we face at Woodridge, at Palatine, you know, tournaments. You're the hardest goalie to beat, man. I tell you, the way you stand up to that shot, but not only are you technically sound, because I go back to your goalie. Like, I don't look at you, if I was comparing you to a goalie, I don't look at you like a goalie like Dominic Hasek or Curtis Joseph or some of my favorite goalies. I look at you more, and I know these guys might not be your favorite guys, and I know you don't dislike them, but I always look at you as a technical goalie, like a Brodeur. You know what I mean? Like a guy who just you know how to take the shot. You're in good position at all times, and I just think that that's one of your strongest suits. Because I'll tell you why. As a shooter, and you know I like to shoot. As a shooter, you can get in the shooter's head. I mean, and I think just your technical ability is just by far one of the greatest. And I mean, I'm playing in Canada, playing in the U.S., and I just had to throw that out there because I think you're just a humble guy. But really, congrats on a great career, man.
Appreciate it.
I'm
A lot of hard work.
That was touching, Nav. I'm weeping a little bit right now.
Well, remember, I'm a former Raider, so like Billy and I have won lots of championships together.
Yeah, we've had a good run. We've had a lot of good runs. I mean, Dante and I have had some good runs together as well. And we had that team on Monday that did really well. It was a lot of fun. We had some good times. Again, yeah.
Oh, we lost you. We're losing some nuggets here. Dante, he was saying nice things about you, and we can't even hear it.
You're doing that on purpose, I can tell.
Huh?
Is it true you were saying some nice things about Dante?
Well, yeah, me and Marky played on that team on Monday. That was really good. I mean, we had so much fun on that team, and we won a lot of championships. And we had some good players on that team. So it comes back to playing with good people. Playing with good players. I mean, because there's games where I'm allowing 4, 5, and 6, and we're scoring 7, 8, and 9. So I mean that's part of the gig. I was just mentioning before I got cut off from my cheap internet as Bobby D. Like, I talk to Bobby all the time. Some of those teams he played with later.
This is what he warned us about when prior to the game. He said he can keep talking, and I promise you to the world out there, I'm not muting him. It's the internet connection. My hands are up here. Hey, Billy, what we'll do is we'll move to Dante and come back to you. Maybe you can call the cable company in the meantime.
1-800-COMCAST. Here we go.
Stops, you had a question for Dante, I'm sure, right?
Well, it was the same question. Who would he dread facing the most on a breakaway?
Wow, that's a good one. Before that, two comments. First one, Billy, for what it's worth, and I hope Keith's not listening, he goes 5-hole on you. He goes for that every time. And that is sometimes not a lot of guys do it in our league as they try and do the deke. So I very rarely see guys shoot 5-hole because they think they can deke. And he's very good at it. I've just watched him over the years at shooting 5-hole. It's not easy to get it in that 5-hole. People think, oh, it's so great. I think people watch Jonathan Toews do it all the time on those breakaways. It's not easy to do that by any means, and he's good at it. And I think that's what happens is we don't get to practice it much, right? Because there's not a lot of ball players that do that. They're gonna try and shoot it harder. They're gonna deke you. So I think that's where it comes in. Just squeeze those wickets, and it'll never be a Keith goal again. On that, and but Stomps. So that picture of Schimmel, what I don't understand. What version of his hair is that? Is that
wow? Hey.
Which color that was?
I'll tell you, I took that one off. I like to take these pictures, and Stomps made a comment earlier about these smiling faces and these normal-looking people in society. I take these pictures off LinkedIn because I wanted the viewers to get a sense of who these people are in real life. You know what I mean? These guys all have real jobs and real families and real responsibilities versus, the manufactured life that we have in the world of ball hockey. So that's the LinkedIn picture, Dante.
Right. No, I know. I'm just kidding.
So
Dave's not here. I shouldn't be making fun of him when he's not here. So, Stomps, to answer your question, so I would think the guy that I would fear the most, but I never have faced a shot, but it would definitely have to be Clint. His arms are just all over the place, and he can move them in different directions of his body, and you know how quick he was. But I've never faced it. But Billy probably has, so I'm sure Billy got some thoughts on that. But Stomps, if there was a guy that would not allow me to sleep at night on breakaways, it was Danny DiMaggio. His hands were so
wow.
And you know how good he was out there, and he could pull the trigger with with some mustard behind it from anywhere, but his soft hands, he can come back against you. So difficult. I remember he played on the Shooting Stars.
Right.
When he was out there and I was playing goalie, I was like, no, keep that guy, no breakaways. Because Danny, he had it. He could hold the puck as long as he wanted to for most games. But, those are probably the two. Obviously, Danny I played against plenty of times. And Clint, I thankfully never got to play against in the Nets because I'm sure he would have schooled the heck out of me there. For sure.
Those are great answers. I mean, I don't think I may have had some breakaways on Billy in my day.
You scored. Yeah, you scored on breakaways against me.
Billy knows.
It's the goaltending position is tough. I mean, I dabbled in it back in the day, and it's a tough thing to give up a goal, even if it's completely one you couldn't even have a prayer of saving. Just to have it behind you and to have to fish it out of that net is not a good feeling. And so I've lived it a little bit, and I totally understand how that goes. But we got to have our goalies. We love our goalies. I wish Bobby and Dave were on so we can talk to them. Maybe on a future show we'll have them on and
Yeah, and
get their thoughts.
We want to. I want to address the Fort River rivalry from back in the day. We got to have Schimmel on.
Yeah, we're gonna do that. We definitely gonna do that. On a side note, I know you kind of closed off. I think that was your last question for Dante, right?
Yeah.
On a side note, I'd just like to say to Dante, I mean, we can't have an interview with you without, recognizing, some of your abilities in building franchises. I think Billy Jacques kind of mentioned it to you earlier, how you built, the Inferno, and then, you go back to the Lugags, and then all these sort of franchises that you put together. You really have a real good sense of the game. And I think you understand players and you understand how they can play and positions they can succeed at. And one of the things when I asked you that question earlier, did it help you as a goalie to play defense? I mean, pandemic or no pandemic, scrimmage or no scrimmage, you're playing to win every single game. I mean, you're not social distancing, and you're out there, and you're completely in everybody's face. I mean, it's a treat to watch you and Sabatini in the corners over there. But just to sort of close out on that, I mean, you've been successful in just playing a very technically sound game, and not to reveal anyone's age, but I think that's kind of made you so effective in your twilight years as a defenseman.
Oh yeah, I'm very fortunate to still be able to play at my age, right? And
You're supposed to say thank you first. You're supposed to say
yeah, thank you, exactly. And I just want to be able to participate, right? Because I know I'm very limited on what I can do anymore. From 30, 40 years ago, let's say. I've given away the age a little bit. But, the one thing I can do is kind of play defense, and especially in a smaller rink, a little bit better. Don't have the speed anymore, but, can kind of know where to be when, right? And to be able to thwart the plays as best possible. I think that's what you want to do. And, what I try to do is just disrupt the play enough where the rest of the team can join back and help, right? So, you kind of, I think it's one of the focuses on building teams is I think you need to understand people, what their capabilities are, what they're not so capable of, and use that accordingly, right? You don't want to make a player that's not good at one thing try and be, great at that, right? You don't make your all-star third baseman your pitcher, right? And I think a lot of people do that. They think that everyone's, got to play the same game. We have different talent out there, and you've got to use it. Let people do what they can with it. And I think it's a better thing to help someone when they're really good at something to become even better at it because they have it, as opposed to if someone just can't do something, that's okay. Not all of us can do everything by any stretch, and recognize that, and don't put them in situations not to succeed. I think that's the other part of it is that becomes difficult sometimes to make those decisions. But, as a teammate, you have to figure that out. And I think the thing I learned a long time ago, I'd say, that has definitely helped with plenty of luck too, is that learn from coaches many years ago on deciding what players would play on what teams, especially, going through tryouts and, some of the levels, the juniors and stuff. And it's like, how do you pick these guys? There's so many guys. And, they're very close. I mean, there's obvious guys that you're going to play. They're the guys. And then you got to pick 5 more out of 20, and they're all pretty close. And the one comment that's always stuck with me is, I want to find somebody not who hates to lose, because everybody hates to lose, but you want to find these guys that have to win. That's what they want to do. They have to. I mean, I should say that in another format. Do they like to win? And does everybody like to win? Yes, of course, everybody likes to win. But you find the guys that hate to lose because they do absolutely everything possible to win, because they hate to lose. It's just they can't stand it. Unfortunately, I have that, and it's sometimes it's not good because it's there's times when who cares who wins, and I fully aware of that. But It's just that old natural thing comes out where, find those players that hate to lose, because those guys are going to be with you in the battles at the end. They're going to go out there, do what they have to do. It doesn't matter. No excuses. I'm going to get out there. And those are the guys that usually take you over the top. It's not always just your special skill people. It's those other that fill in at that point that make life difficult for everybody else. So
That's well said.
Well, Dance, it's like in the business world where you have a team, and it's not just you want everybody on the bus. You want people to have the right seat on the bus, right?
right.
So you got to put them in a position to succeed, and I think that's what you were touching on there.
Yeah.
Hey, Dante, that was well said. We closing comments, stomps for these goalies. I wanna invite Dante and Billy Jacques to future shows. You guys are always welcome on the Neutral Zone. Both of you guys are phenomenal contributors to the sport. You love the game more than anybody I know. You guys are also welcome to stick through the rest of the program. But any closing comments, stomps, for these two fine young gentlemen?
No, it's just been a pleasure all those years, and let's see how much further we could take it, right? I know Dance and I, we're a couple of the senior guys, but I echo what he said earlier. It's just good to play, good to stay healthy, good to contribute, and you can't ask for much more to be able to do that. And, I'm not going to take it back to a previous show where we talked about some unfortunate passing of some teammates, but it's kind of given me the impetus to keep going, and it's great to play with you guys. I mean, with and against, I wouldn't have it any other way.
I want to close with something. I've played with you guys, all three of you guys, and against you guys, and it's been a lot of fun. I enjoy it. I'm an intense person, and sometimes I open my mouth when I shouldn't. That's probably like 95% of the time. But I do enjoy what's going on now with the younger guys coming in. There was a period of time where I didn't think they were going to be here, and I didn't think our sport would be able to last, especially here. I know it's big on the East Coast, but I really, really like these young guys. Even in Woodbridge with Rocco and the Nets, he's been really, really solid. He's a really good-looking young goalie. And then you have, Ronnie Jr., and you have Mike Scalzetti, and you have just a number of guys, and with Frank and Eric and you, Mark, and you, Stomps, and you, Nav, putting in your time outside the rink for our great game, because I'm right in between where Mark and Stomps are, and me and Nav are sort of that in between level where we're not the young guys anymore, and we're not. Nav used the twilight. We're not in the twilight yet, but we're really close. And I used to be one of those guys who win at all costs. Cost me some friendships throughout the years because my thing was to win. And I've kind of softened up on that stuff. I still want to win. I still want to play the game the right way. But I enjoy seeing the younger guys play this sport at a high level. And it gives me hope for the next for the next group of guys to kind of take this sport over. And kudos to, Frankie Klein, as much as we go back and forth, and Eric and you guys for, and Lou, my guy Lou, who I played with 20 years ago in the B League on Tasty Dog. We've had some fun times, and I enjoy that you guys put your extra time in and keep this sport going, because it's a big part of my life, and it always has been for 25 years.
That's nice. Thanks for those words, man. That
Yeah.
means a lot to the viewers and to the what we're trying to do here. Dante, any closing comments?
Yeah, I want to thank you guys for having me on it. I appreciate it. I'd be happy to participate whenever you need somebody to put up some baloney. I'll be happy to do it. But I think Billy probably stole a lot of my thoughts too, And it's great playing with you guys. And now that it's it's coming full cycle, with me, I think the thing that's been great is I've been able to play with my kids, watch them grow up, see them play, see them be successful, and it's just something really to look forward to. I know, Nav, you've got a couple of kids coming, so you're going to get that coming in, and it's special to have that. Let me say too, the other thing is, I've known Stomps, and I met him through hockey, and this is when we were, I don't remember how young we were, for crying out, in the 70s, right? So without a doubt, what I found out through my life is your best friends usually are from your hockey people. Hockey people are solid people. They're down to earth. For the most part, great people, great friends they become. It's just a cult, kind of. Just the way people, treat each other and act with each other. It's just different than other sports from my experience. And they're lifelong friends, and you can be proud of that. Everybody should be, because your hockey friends are your true friends. And I consider you guys my true friends through thick and thin. And we've had issues back and forth, and I think sometimes it's because we want that that drive to win and such. But after it's over, especially as you get older, you understand it's let's go out and play, and let's go have a beer and talk about it and make fun of each other for an hour or two, right? So that's really what the part of it is, and I think a lot of people recognize that, and some earlier than others. But that's the great part about it is the time you spend. Even like take Wednesday nights when we play hockey, it's great. We want to win, and you go out and you just BS with a bunch of guys and have a beer or two in the lot, and you don't even get a chance to talk to everybody, right? Because you're just so in depth conversation with people. So it's awesome. It's great, and I don't want that day to end to where you can't play anymore. Maybe I'll go play ice hockey again, because they make like 50 and over leagues somewhere.
No.
Yeah, I think the friendships go without saying. Obviously, that's the great thing about Woodridge for me, is because I'm new there and I'm meeting new guys that I didn't even know. Just like today, I for the first time, I really got to talk to Gerard Grabowski. What a great guy, right? So you're absolutely right, Dennis. Absolutely. 100%.
Yeah, Dante, just to sort of piggyback off what you were saying, I was on a phone call with a friend of mine that I used to work with. He's retired now. I think he's 65, 66 years old. And I used to work with him. We had a call the other day, and I was telling him about this league and all the friendships and the guys and everything like that. You know what? He gave me advice. He said, you know what? We have jobs, and we get really caught up in our jobs, and we make friendships at work. He goes, but those friendships are not what you've established here, because when work is over and you retire, most of the time those coworkers kind of go their own way and they go on with their lives. And he said, sadly, it's one of the reasons why he doesn't have much to do, because he never had this community that we've established. So I think, Dante, just to that point, I think it's important to keep these friendships. I think we've proven during the pandemic that we can find ways to still communicate, do the Zoom calls, keep the neutral zone going, go out for some patio meals and drinks or whatever. Let's keep it up, guys. Everybody's kind of an ambassador to the game, right? So listen, I want to invite you guys again to a future program. If you guys want to stick around, you're welcome. I also know it's Sunday afternoon. We're going to cover a couple more things that you'll find interesting. It's going to be a longer episode to the viewers out there, Stomps. We're going to have to we got a lot more content. But Billy and Dante, you're welcome to stay. Thank you again.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate
Thanks,
it.
guys. Appreciate it. Great job.
Thanks, guys. All right, as we move on, Palatine highlights. We're going to get into why I chose this image. Very, very briefly, it's a celebration. I think that's Kuznetsov.
We'll get into that. In a second.
So a couple of things happened. I was unavailable to join the great players on Wednesday, but Stomps is going to walk you through what happened on Wednesday.
Well, if I could just quickly back up to the previous Wednesday to this most recent Wednesday. So just this is a little funny thing. So once again, talking about Timmy, he showed up to play at Palatine. First time all year playing in the big rink. So he told me how sore he was afterwards. But, just Timmy shows up one week, and this is unofficial because we really don't keep good stats at Palatine, but he's vaulted into the top 5 in scoring just from one game. I think he's behind like Bruner and Adesh and maybe a couple other guys. So, but anyway, if you move on, so last week it was a 9-9 tie. We were up a couple late, and I don't know what was going on with Steve in goal. He was he was having some equipment trouble, or I don't know what was going on, and then they pulled him and scored a couple late ones. I thought the goaltending was good, really good actually, on Wednesday. And on our team had it's hard. And Donce played in that game, so he was out there, I think, with Gleason. Trying to think of who else you had on defense on your team.
We had Lou.
Oh, you had Lou, yourself, Glease. Was that it?
Well, there was one more. I forget who it was. He left though, like at the beginning of the third period. So we had to go with 3. Gosh, I can't remember who it was, but but yeah. So we got stuck with 3 at the end, and Gleese was out. He was hurt. He couldn't move.
Yeah.
So it was unfortunate. And I think Jeremy was playing defense early on too, but I think we kind of said, Jeremy, we need you up there to get some pucks in the net. So we put him up there. Latham, that's who it was. Latham was out there, and we switched him up to play defense, and but then he had to leave a little bit early.
Yeah, we had we went with a 3 rotation: Ronnie Senior, Todd, and myself. So I thought we hung in there pretty well for 3 old guys. But what were you going to say, Nat?
No, I was going to say, you said Steve Fiordo. You said he had some equipment problems. Was he wearing his glasses?
I don't know what was going on. I don't know if Dante, did you happen to see that? It was like late in the game. It almost looked like he lost a contact lens, or I don't know.
Yeah, I think what happened, there was a late play when there was a quick play, and Bruner scored. And then the puck came out real quick, and I didn't even know it at the time. But I think Steve tried to make a valiant move to the side, and he didn't get there. And I think he hit his head, and I knocked his. And I'm not going to be 100% correct, but this is kind of what I thought I saw and heard. And knocked his helmet off, and it knocked one of the lenses out of his glasses.
Oh, wow.
Oh, there you go.
So yeah, so Lou was trying to get it back in, and it wasn't just popped out. I think it was bent a pinch. So he's having trouble, and then we looked at the clock and said, "There's 2.5 minutes left. Let's just pull the goalie." And instead of trying to fix it because the clock was running, right? So I think that was like, well, that's better than anything here. So let's go that route.
Wow.
Yeah.
Sounds like a real barn burner. What happened here? You mentioned something about the goal was in and out from Bruner. You see this image? Who's this player?
Subban.
Known for his celebratory antics.
Well, it's appropriate we have Donce on for this because I think, hey, I'm all for being enthusiastic. I mean, hockey's an emotional game, and but you don't want to get in anybody's face. And
Did that happen?
I think so, right, Don?
Listen, this is freedom of speech.
We don't want to call anybody out. I mean, it was honestly, I didn't even notice until I heard afterwards. But
Guys, we're on TV here. You can talk about it. As long as, you get it out.
No, I think there's just some frustration on my part when the last puck went in. I didn't necessarily.
Who scored that goal?
Dan did, Bruner.
Okay.
And what was one of a number of goals he scored. He's just he has that knack of getting in the right spot, right, and picking the spots. So I was frustrated more that we gave up the goal than anything.
Did he do this after he scored?
Is that what he did? I don't know if it was exactly that. I didn't see it, but
Or was it more like this?
it was actually 3 somersaults, and on the third one, that was it. Yeah, so I think I was just frustrated that the puck went in, and I wasn't sure it went in, and then unfortunately Dan was standing right next to me, and I think he was the victim of circumstance in that case, and I was just kind of mad, and I think I might have had a more gruesome face than I usually have, and I think he was kind of like, "Whoa!" So
Say something to him?
no, I didn't say anything, and I think, but he responded. His face, by the reaction of his face, I kind of thought I knew that my reaction was even worse to the situation. So, but anyways, we text after that, and he said, "Thanks for not killing me." And it's like, no, that's the last thing I want to do. And most of the time when the puck goes in the net, when I'm out there, I'm first of all, I'm mad at myself, right, for not stopping it, because that's where I need to contribute. So usually the anger begins with myself, and then it could be, just the frustration at the time. I think we went down 2 with a couple minutes left, right? So it was like, that's the important part of the situation. So
Yeah.
Usually my frustration comes, is on myself. So
I hear you, and you want to win. It's hard. Listen, the reason I wanted to put this up, and Stomps, I wasn't at the game. I'm just kind of going by what I heard, the chatter in the locker rooms, and the talk on Twitter and all that kind of fun stuff. But the reason I put this up is because I do have an opinion about this, and I'll share it with you guys. I think celebrations are great. I think when you score, you're excited, like you said. It's an emotional game. Where I think you draw the line is when you start chirping in someone's face. I think if you score and you want to celebrate with your team, go for it. But when you start shouting in someone's face or the defenseman's face, like woo-hoo, like that in their face, I think that's where you got to draw the line, because you're now kind of asking for a punch in the face. You know what I mean? So I don't know. That's my view. I mean, I like it when these guys celebrate. I'd prefer to be the one celebrating, though, like today at Woodward.
Well, absolutely, and it's good to do it in a respectful manner, and like you said, they just don't get in anybody's face about it.
Right.
Yeah, I mean that's all. I mean, hockey should be celebrated, absolutely.
All right, guys. This is the fun part of Palatine. We typically try to do the. For those of you, I'm going to repeat this again, but in the 80s and 90s, and even now, they still have the Molson Cup 3 stars, right? We do the Corona Cup 3 stars, just given where we are in the world. So the third star, Stomps, you want to say anything about the third star?
Yeah, once again, Danny's up there for his offensive prowess. Again, we don't keep the stats, so it's hard to remember, but he scored several goals, clearly.
Yeah.
Was a big reason why we even had a tie. I think he scored the 9th goal, but then we gave up 2 late, and that's why it was a tie. But yeah, well deserved.
Yep.
Yeah, so Adash, he's still just, every day he's just gets better and becoming an offensive force. And, I thought he should share it with Josh Kramer, because Josh did a great job. He was really running down guys like Jeremy and really helping out on defense and offense. So good two-way playing. In fact, it was good to see that he it looks like he is signed up for the Woodridge tournament.
Oh,
I saw his name on the list. So, yeah.
yeah.
Good young player. Yeah. And I'm telling you, Todd gets the #1 star in my book. Played a great game on defense. I mean, he just standing guys up, stripping them at the blue line. And these are guys like Jeremy, coming full bore on him. Just really had a nice game. And I thought that's definitely well-deserved.
Great. Well, congratulations to the 3 stars. It's good to sort of get that recognition out here. Those games are getting competitive. This was a real treat today, this morning. I always say this on all our programs that it's the 8 o'clock game. That's the main event. I mean, that's the big game. I mean, I know Dante and others play at 9:30, but I think this is where really where the excitement is on Woodridge on Sunday mornings. What do you want to say about this? Is a sudden death win for Team Light. Team Light, 11-10. Look at those stats.
Yeah, it was a good game. I mean, but I don't know. I felt. I mean, we scored a couple late to force the overtime, but I felt like your team played much better than we did, in my opinion.
Yeah, listen, I'm going to say starting that game, I looked at the lineup that you guys had that Andre put together. I think Andre was the management team today
Yeah.
put that together. And, when you got the likes of Anthony, Tim, and Frank on and I think you played defense, right, Stomps?
I did. Can I ask you a question? Let me stop you right there. Very early in this game, I heard you and Anthony chirping, and I think this was the impetus for you to have the big game you had. I think you weren't happy, and I think that spurred you on and really got you going. So can you talk about that?
Yeah, sure, Ken. First of all, Anthony Martino, that's his name.
Yes, sir. Good kid.
Third generation Italian American. Really good player and a player that has a lot of offensive prowess. I compare him to Timmy, like a younger version of Timmy. He's got a great shot. He goes to his forehand. He's kind of a combination of Timmy and Bruner because he has that strong forehand. He's a good player. I mean, how it started off in the first period is we kind of exchanged. We were kind of jostling, and I felt like he had slashed me pretty hard on my stick, and it was kind of behind the play. And we kind of went at it back and forth. And, I think it got a little heated unnecessarily, but it was probably a combination of that play, behind the play, and my reaction to it. We quickly, before the period even ended, we made up. It was amicable, shook hands after that. And I don't know if it motivated me or not. I'm not too sure. I felt good because I didn't play on Wednesday, and I really wanted to play. But, I mean, forget about my game. How about Steve Sementek, 4 goals and 2 assists with the overtime winner?
That guy, I like having him on my team because he really hustles, battles, and to put he proved it wasn't just this game that he scored. I mean, he scores goals. He could do it. He's a good forward. I like him. I stopped him a few times out there. And you talk to each other during the game. Nice play. He got the best of us. Look at the numbers; they don't lie. So there you go. You had a great game too, Nav.
Well, I appreciate that. I thought having Eileen also, helps a lot. She's great at what she does.
She used some salty language out there. I told her there's no swearing at Woodridge. She didn't even laugh. So I think she's all business.
She's definitely. She's there to win. She doesn't like losing. Back to what Dante was saying earlier. She doesn't like losing. And we're lucky to have her part of the Woodridge contingents. Okay, so let's keep moving over here. This is one that you had watched this game. Tell me a little bit about this.
Well, I missed probably the last 10 minutes, but up to that point, Sammy, honestly, he talked to me while I was on the bench for our game. And he said, things are looking up with, he had some good blood work and, he's feeling better. And then all of a sudden he was playing in the second game and I was like, what? So I was very surprised to see him out there. I don't know if he's still wearing the device, but he scored 4 goals up to the point that I left. So, I told you that was inspirational to see him out there. Sometimes, us old curmudgeons might think that some of these younger guys are softer or whatever the case is, but he's back out there and that was great. And it is inspirational. Maybe not quite as inspirational as that photo of him with the ice girls next on either arm. That's outstanding. But yeah, so I was just surprised that he was even playing, but he was filling up the net, and it was good to see.
Well, you were there for both games, so you were able to see that sort of inspiring 4-goal performance, and then you obviously part of the 11-10 sudden death. What was the highlight of the morning for you?
What was the highlight? What, of the early game?
Of the morning, both games.
I don't know. I usually don't think that there's a highlight if you lose. But your backhand goal, though, was really something. That was a good one. That might be the highlight for me.
Wow. Well, it was a highlight for me. I don't score like that often, and I had Anthony Martino on me. So then I appreciate that. Okay, so let's talk about the player spotlights. None other than the winner of the 8 a.m. game again, Peter Borzuda, Polish-American, right?
Did you make that slide intentionally with those colors then? That's the Polish flag. That's outstanding. If you were thinking, take credit, say that's what you were doing. But yeah, Peter's great. Peter's, would you consider him part of the executive team at Woodridge? Because he's always there early, and he's with Eric out there, and they're repairing the nets. If there's a hole in a net, he's got his little toolkit or whatever. And yeah, I mean, Peter's a fun guy. As a player, he plays great defense. He's going to block a ton of shots and move the ball up. And then he'll pinch every so often and get in front of that net, and he's hard to move. So, yeah, great player.
Great player.
Great guy.
Super versatile. One of the only guys that can play forward, defense, and goal. So just so you know, he actually plays goalie as well. I don't know.
That's true. I forgot about that. Yeah.
And I do think he's either on the management team or the extended management team. I like him today in the game, and I know I don't want to keep rubbing salt on the wound for your 11-10 sudden death loss, but we had set it up so that it was Gerard and Brian Ganutek on the first line pair defense, and then it was myself and Peter. And I tell you, he takes his role very seriously. He wanted to cover Timmy. He said, "I got Timmy. You want me to take Anthony? I'll take Anthony." He's just one of the most great guys to play with. Just a great guy to play with. He's always willing to do what he needs to for the team. He got a great assist. I want to call that out today on Steve Cementek's one of his goals. It was a great assist up. He brought the puck up and got it to Steve, and Steve scored. And Peter, I hope you're listening out there because we're really happy to have you part of Woodridge. We talked about this guy a lot today, haven't we?
Well, I wasn't expecting his name to come up when Billy was talking, and so yeah, there you go. So now we know Billy hates to face Keith on breakaways because, and as Dante pointed out, Keith will take you 5-hole, and he's good at it.
Yeah. A little worst kept secret about Keith is so we drafted him in the first round of the inaugural Dynamo season, which Stomps, you're proud to be part of the management team for Dynamo. One of the things about Keith is there was an adjustment period with him in the first session. I mean, we didn't know where to put him on forward or defense, and we're just trying to get used to Keith. Like we played with him before, but just having him as a first rounder and a leader in that locker room. I mean, he's a mainstay for Dynamo, and just in the sense that he's a versatile player. He can play forward, he can play defense. He's terrific on his off wing. I like to spotlight him because we don't see him too often. Has he been coming out on Wednesdays to Woodridge?
He has not, but I think somebody said he had showed up to a Friday at Palatine, like within the last couple of weeks.
Yeah.
I think somebody said
I heard that. And I think he did come out on one of the Wednesdays with with Palatine, but it hasn't been consistent. He's definitely a good family man, good player, veteran. I think he's in the same age group as myself and Billy Jacques. But we're happy to have him part of Dynamo.
Yeah, no doubt. Like you said, he plays that off wing, and he like comes off the half boards there on the left side, and you know, he's going to get a shot on goal, which you always like. And yeah, great teammate.
So wanted to say that Stomps and I are really proud of completing our 5th episode here on October 11th. For those of you who just tuned in or tuned in recently, we are presenting to you season 1, episode 5 of The Neutral Zone. We conducted today the week in review, and we also had the Between the Pipes segment with Billy Jacques and Mark Dante. I wanted to give everybody kind of a preview of what's to come. This is subject to movement in terms of who's on. It's also very important that we get in front of the guests in advance so that they can join. But we got a couple of sessions coming up. Next week, we plan to talk about the bright future. I think we set the tone for that today, talking about some of the youngsters. So I hope I can have Patty, Gabe, and my son Solomon on the show, talk about what the sport means to them and how it feels to, really take this sport seriously and player development and all that kind of stuff. And then, Stomps, I got a real interesting one for us in 2 weeks, crossing the border with 2 guys. I mean, we got Ali here from Toronto, Canada, who's really going to talk to us about what they've done for the game and how they've continued to recruit younger players. And he's won a lot of championships as a manager and as a player. So it'd be good to have him on the show. And then Stomps suggested that on November 1st, we kind of have a little deep dive into how the Woodbridge tourney is going. If it's not completed, we'll do a showcase on that with Eric and Frank. And then the history of the Toros, we'll have Dave Schmiel come on. Couldn't be with us today, but we'll definitely get him on in a future program. I think a segment wouldn't, or a season wouldn't be complete without having the Bearcats legacy on here. So that's where we'll get Bobby D in as well. Followed by that, we'll talk about Palatine, and that might move up a little earlier in the annual turkey games as we approach the blessed holiday season of Thanksgiving. By the way, to all the Canadians watching, happy Thanksgiving. It's Canadian Thanksgiving. We'll have Eric.
Today?
Yeah, Thanksgiving. And then the reason they have their Thanksgiving like a month and a half before us is because of the earlier harvest that they have in Canada because of the weather. So
there you go.
And then we'll have we really want to feature our incredible women in the sport. And we have some really good ball hockey players in the Chicago area. I kind of listed 2, but that's not inclusive of everybody. That'll include Danielle and Eileen. And then we'll do a segment on the importance of defense. And I have Eddie Switek in here. We may have some other folks join him, but Eddie Switek's a guy that's come through the ranks and really delivered as a good defenseman in this league. And then I think we're going to close the year on December 13th, and we'll have completed 14 episodes. And we'll do a deep dive into the Dynamo franchise, and we'll have some real special guests on that segment.
You think we'll be asked back for a second season?
It all depends on the network's interest in renewing our contract. I hope so. So, Stomps, any closing words?
No, I'm looking forward to the tournament. Tournaments are always fun. At this point, I'm not considering that I'm on a team at this point. Nobody's asked me. So it's kind of exciting to just go in it as a free agent and you play with whoever you're slotted with. So I think it'll be fun. It definitely will be fun. We got the Dolphins team is in the tournament. I believe they're out of the Quad Cities, right?
Yep.
That's who we defeated on the Toros in January at the tournament in Palatine. So, so they're bringing a team. So let's just see what happens with Eric and Frank setting up good teams. I look forward to some good competition. Hopefully the weather holds, and it'll be fun, I think. Always like tournaments. They're always fun.
Yeah, looking forward to it. So with that said, we're going to close. Thank you to all the viewers.
you.